We're not fighting white people. We're having a robust debate as a country. And I'm worried that our journalists don't seem to be writing very well about this issue. Because there is a narrative out there that we want to commit a white genocide. Those are the people who can counter the land question issue with facts. They are using embedded journalism to lie, so that they can give the Western powers to come and bombard us here when we take our land and say, no, you are committing white genocide. No white man has been killed in South Africa because of the land. Not even Terre Blanche was killed because of the land. The most high racist. He was not killed because they wanted to take the land. They killed him because he was molesting young people in the farms there and not paying their salaries. There is no case in South Africa of any white person killed because people wanted the land. No, not even one. There is no case in South Africa of any white person forced out of his own property, not even by EFF. What we did as the EFF was to occupy the unoccupied land. Hey, that one we do it peacefully, there is no problem. That's all we did. We are occupying the unoccupied land while we are still waiting for a proper fertile land. It must still come. It doesn't. We are passing time with empty land. We are looking for the real thing. And we are going to do so without killing any white person. There will never be blood. That's what Mama told us. No blood. You must fight in such a way that you use the political power you have to transfer land into the hands of the people. I stand here in the memorial service of Mama. We need to commit that there will never be a white man killed in South Africa because of the land. The land will be transferred into the hands of the people peacefully, so through exercising of the political power.
It's a Friday, Jambo Africa, Zonga Africa and the diaspora, and thanks very much for choosing us once again. My name is Titus Tshungu, and we're coming to you from Winnie Madikizela Mandela House here in Johannesburg. I had a very interesting conversation with two political commentators, one from South Africa, the other from the US, Kim Hiller and Jackson Hinkle, respectively. We had a very interesting conversation around geopolitics, particularly emanating from the meeting between Cyril Ramaphosa and Donald Trump. I want to focus mainly on the key takeaways from that meeting that took place in Washington, D.C. in the White House Oval Office. There are a few issues. One, the issue of Starlink, which now appears to be smuggled into South Africa within our borders. We have the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Solly Malatsi, who has made an announcement that he wants to ease some BE policy license, requirements, to allow satellite services companies such as Starlink to operate here in South Africa. And this appears to be a very mind-boggling move, which the EFF vehemently reject, because Starlink does not only provide what they call high-speed broadband internet, but it undermines our sovereignty. It undermines our national security. Now, evident by this, revoking of our local ownership requirements, 30%. Now, we are going to share with you the conversation that we have had, and also now the big issue, we are back in court, the fuel levy, we are against that. We don't want any fuel to go up. The EFF is back in court taking the Minister of Finance in Godongwana, but just stay tuned and listen to this conversation that we've had with Kim Hiller and Jackson. But before we get into that, I want us to observe a moment of silence following the passing of one of the renowned South African actor, Mr. Massive, Princely Chwene Yagae, who died at the age of 40. So, etlela ekurula mfowethu.
Better one without compensation.
Kabratina, it's Timuga.
Ne, Zogala Yate Muto, will Spanish. How no more to beauty.
Ah, I get my
Don't worry. Eh? One fellow without compensation.
Would you call me?
Ah, get a pa.
Little time.
Get a pum. Eh?
Cabra, was that a pillow?
In the hand. Sharp. In the hand, the bonnet. Get a pang pang.
So on the line, I'm joined by Kim Hiller, South African political commentator, as well as Jackson Hinkle, American commentator as well. Thank you very much, guys, for making time. I'm going to begin with Kim, looking, of course, on the visit of President Cyril Ramaphosa to the U.S., that bilateral meeting between Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa. White genocide claims came very topical. And, for you, what are your key takeaways? What did you make of such a meeting? White genocide claims became a center stage, let alone CIC Julius Malema being topical in the Oval Office. What do you make of that, Kim?
Thank you, and it's such an honor to do this interview with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we saw was the unfolding of a white supremacist movie being starred. The star character is always Donald Trump, who I think is enjoying the new crest of right-wing politics in America and across the world.
Mm-hmm.
And on that crest of whiteness, he's using that to try and reconfigure the geopolitical play field.
Mm-hmm.
So his myth and his great storytelling around white deaths, white genocide in South Africa forms part of his absolute obsession with making America white and the world white again. And but I think beneath all this, the typical mantra of these white supremacists
Mm-hmm.
is some more sinister game, as always. And I think I was saying actually on Russia TV last night that we have to ask some critical questions about what happened at that meeting, because under the cloak of this so-called fake genocide, I think there's a more sinister objective, and that is to try and take the world's gaze away from the brutality of the real-time genocide happening in Gaza and being conducted by apartheid Israel, one of the greatest allies of the United States. Well, it's interesting this week as well that we saw the anniversary, the 5th anniversary of the death of George Floyd. And that brings up again the brutality against Africans in America. And I think that there was a very smart move by Donald Trump to take our eyes away from things that are both domestically problematic, the shocking racial relations in America itself, but also the culpability of the US in the Gaza genocide. So what does he do? He weaponizes a non-existent white genocide. And of course, for him, in the week that Black Lives Matter should be at the forefront.
Yeah, so that was a cover-up in your view.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And Jackson, I wonder what Americans really feel about what transpired in Washington Oval Office during that meeting between Ramaphosa and Trump. Uh, how are you feeling as Americans, particularly regarding the granting of refugee status to Afrikaners?
I don't know what Donald Trump thought he was going to be getting when he decided to grant refugee status to these white South Africans. I think Trump maybe thought he was going to get a bunch of Elon Musks, a bunch of rich white South Africans, maybe some diamond families. But much to his displeasure, he got working class white people. They looked like they were just from they looked like they live in an RV park in the United States. In America, they say that these people are rednecks or something. So they I don't think they're going to bring any sort of economic boom to the United States that Trump is looking for. As for the meeting, I entirely agree. I think this is all about diverting attention from the Gaza genocide. The White House said it as much in their official statement. They said South Africa has been attacking our closest allies like Israel, so we have to hold them accountable. And the most important part here is that I think most Americans, frankly, are not too moved by what they saw because the videos that Trump was showing proved to be fake of
True.
the mass procession of the white crosses. And in addition to that, there's with Gaza, you have a real time live stream genocide that everyone can look at on their phones. In South Africa, there's only 25,000 murders every year, and 95% of those are black people getting murdered. And of the farm killings in South Africa, only 2% are supposedly have a racial motive. And that's according to the racist entities in South Africa. So I think people are not moved by this, and they see it as a big political show.
Mm-hmm. Kim, I want to come back to you. President Cyril Ramaphosa seemed to be a chameleon to me. I mean, he changes his color depending on the surface he finds himself. I mean, prior to his visit to the US, he said he's going to tell Trump to keep his America and we keep our South Africa. But he failed dismally to, protect the Constitution of South Africa, the courts of South Africa's ruling, particularly when it comes to the issue of kill the farmer, kill the Boer, kill the farmer chant.
Absolutely. But we do know Cyril Ramaphosa's absolute love for white power.
Mm-hmm.
And Donald Trump is a symbol of white power, really, in the world. So we can understand how this colonized president goes into the Oval Office and enjoys the very presence of this white man.
Mm-hmm.
Cyril Ramaphosa, as we know, always does well with white people. Less concerned is he with the plight and well-being of black South Africans. But for all his talk, which resembled the real fire within a leader, a strong leader like Robert Mugabe, who said, keep your Britain, we'll keep our Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that. Ramaphosa, I think in his history, has never managed to stand up to a white man.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like a lot of African leaders, he kneels down and curtsies in front of his former colonial masters. So we saw just once again that happening, that he dared not speak in front of the master. And what did he do? He didn't take a competent group of political allies, but really a band of white racist men with him.
Yeah.
And that shows the ongoing behavior of the ANC to always appease whiteness,
Yep.
as if an African man cannot stand up to a Western leader.
Yep.
And what we see is that Donald Trump treated him exactly as he treats all African leaders, with disrespect, as if an African leader is second-rate. And, I want to make this point because I think it's very important.
Sure.
Is that if we have to compare how Cyril Ramaphosa was chosen, now here is a leader of a democracy compared to Netanyahu, the leader of a illegitimate apartheid Israel that is causing deep devastation to its neighbor. If you saw how he welcomed that monster into the White House, it's shameful.
Absolutely. And as a white person living in South Africa, what makes you safe living in South Africa despite the kill the Boer, kill the farmer chant? What makes you so comfortable?
Well, it depends what we define as comfort. As every white South African in this country, I'm a person of privilege. You know, in my book, which you know,
Yeah, no white
I
lies.
say that
Yeah.
every white South African, past, future, and present, is the child of privilege. We enjoy an illicitly perfect life, a privileged life. White power is omnipotent. Do I take comfort in that? Well, I think that's a place of lack of morality. And like all white South Africans, we have refused to give up our privilege. And that's the comfort zone of whiteness. Once there's even a possibility of equality, white people flee. And that's unfortunate. But there's certainly hearing the song Kill the Boer, to me, it brings comfort in a way, because what I see is a young group of Black revolutionaries taking up the mantle and continuing on the noble plight of Black liberation. The baton was dropped when we went for this reconciliated Rainbow Nation. And we have to remind all the time the masses on the ground that the liberatory task, the white institutions, the white power and control over every sector of the economy, that is our enemy, and it has to fall. So strangely, I find comfort in those words. And any person who is bothered to know what that song represents should not be fearful of it. It's celebratory.
And Jackson, let's talk about the escalation of violence unleashed at the Palestinians in Israel. What's happening now between Trump and Netanyahu, particularly looking at their relation? You look at the ICJ matter. Trump seemed to be very mum to comment on that issue, and now seems to be backtracking in terms of throwing his weight behind Israel. What can you tell us about what's going on in Israel now?
Donald Trump, it seems like it's day by day we have to look at and assess his policies and see, if he's going to be doing something good or bad. We don't really know. One day he wants peace with Russia. The next day he says he's going to open up all the floodgates of weapons to attack Russia. Same thing with his relationship seemingly with the Zionist entity and with Netanyahu himself. Obviously, they have a long history together. They don't really like each other. Donald Trump never forgot the fact that Netanyahu recognized that Joe Biden was the president when Donald Trump was still claiming that the election was stolen back in 2020, and that unsettled him to a great degree. You have Donald Trump that's done a number of very interesting things over the past few weeks, though. For example, he settled peace with Ansar Allah in Yemen, and he excluded Israel from that deal. Yemen is still targeting Israeli, ships, ports, airports now even, and there's no protection for Israel from the United States anymore. So that was very, very good and really pissed off Israel. As for Gaza, there was a peace proposal, a ceasefire, 70-day ceasefire that was submitted this week by the United States, which Hamas and the Palestinian resistance organizations agreed upon, which would have guaranteed the release of 10 hostages. Netanyahu came out. There was reports in Haaretz that he would not agree to this ceasefire deal. So he's basically telling Donald Trump to go screw himself. He doesn't want the U.S. to get involved anymore. There's clearly bad blood there. Netanyahu wants to go in and permanently occupy pretty much all of Gaza. He's threatened to do the same thing in the Jordan Valley and the West Bank right now as well. And it seems as though, unless there's real political pressure put on Israel, which Trump is not willing to do, and no Western leader is willing to do,
Sure.
then they're going to do that. The
Yeah.
most we're getting is some Western leaders threatening to recognize Palestinian statehood, which really doesn't mean anything materially if you're not going to challenge the Zionist entity and try to tear apart the entire system that is bringing about the suffering for the Palestinians.
Sure. And what made Trump, or what do you think made Trump to say CIC Julius Malema should be arrested for kill the boer, kill the farmer? In your view, what do you think he seeks to achieve by that?
I think Trump is a busy man who's very underinformed on a lot of the subjects that he talks about because he's probably got so much going on. He was condemning Putin for attacking Ukraine last week with these very big missile attacks. And he didn't even know that Ukraine tried to do a drone strike on his helicopter on its way to Kursk just a few days prior. And then when he found that out, he was like, oh, well, maybe, these attacks make sense that Putin is doing. Same thing in South Africa. He just gets whispered in his ear by Elon Musk and by other wealthy, South Africans. Obviously, these are all Zionists that are whispering in his ear. These are people that don't want EFF or any other, revolutionary group in South Africa to take hold of power. They want the ANC, which is, conciliatory to the DA, to remain in power. And I think Donald Trump is just really has no idea what he's talking about. I think also, based on the performance of the president of South Africa in that Oval Office this week, I think it's fair to say that Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema is now the official president of South Africa. I think it's very clear.
Absolutely. And Kim, let's look at what came out from that meeting between Ramaphosa and Trump. Flabbergastingly, now we have the government gazette proposing the easing of triple BE, licensing requirement for satellite services for companies like Starlink. Now, what do you read into that? Do you think that decision for the government gazette came at the back of that meeting, or it was just a coincidence?
If I had lots of money, I would stake a lot of it, if not all of it, on the fact that the deal was done and the coincidence of suddenly waiving Black empowerment statistics requirements to make it much more comfortable for Elon Musk to come in, I think is absolutely an outcome. Probably they didn't even need to go to America to grant him that. I think it's long been in the mix. And that is so disrespectful that South Africa has done a reasonable job of trying to redress past inequalities. And that has been done through instruments such as BE. And that is being weaponized by the white contingents to ensure that they maintain a hold over the economy. And it's very criminal because if you look at ownership of the key stratas of society, they are still in the hands of whites. So to just keep doing this and to amplify it and supersize this is very worrying. I think the other decision that was taken, although there's no talk of it, but I believe behind those closed doors was discussion of a lightening of the pressure on the ICJ with regard to the genocide case. Because what we do have at the moment is a government that is dominated by white people and white Zionists. So I think in that circus of the Oval Office, the real drama happened behind the closed doors. And I think in time we're going to see an absolute violation of our Black empowerment laws and far friendlier relations with the monstrosity of apartheid Israel.
Yeah. And Jackson, let's try and unmask Starlink and its potential. I mean, we understand that Starlink has the potential to undermine our sovereignty as South Africa. But let's look at other countries where Starlink is operating. Would you then confirm, or rather, believe that Starlink does undermine a nation's sovereignty?
Titus, first of all, I apologize, but I only had till 11, and I'm a little bit over. I have another interview, so I'm gonna have to unfortunately dip out, and I apologize. But I will say this: as for the plans of Elon Musk Starlink, personally, I don't think that. I don't know if it's as big of a threat as it's being made out to be. Maybe you in South Africa could enlighten me more on this matter, but I for sure know that in Gaza it's done a great number in helping people have access to what they otherwise wouldn't have access to, internet. This has been a great help to the people that are suffering there. Of course, if you're a sovereign country and you want full sovereignty, any country should pursue these technologies on their own and develop their own assets and resources, and shouldn't be relying on the whims of billionaires in the United States to give these technologies to you. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
Okay. You may be excused, Jackson. Thank you very much for coming through. Kim, let's wrap up you and I. What do you think about Starlink? Do you think it will be undermining our sovereignty should it be implemented or allowed to operate within our borders?
I think the risk is high, and especially that it's being controlled by Elon Musk, and he certainly hasn't shown any goodwill towards South Africa. In fact, I think if he could help destroy the country, he'd be quite happy, and replace it with a band of white people that look and sound and behave like him. So I think we should be very cautious. But I think we also must speak to a different principle, a principle of sovereignty and self-sustainability. And I put up a tweet that people seem to find very amusing, but I meant it very sincerely, is that let us ignore Starlink, even if it was offered for free. We need to develop our own capacity. And people laughed at the improbability of it, but I don't laugh at the improbability of it. I speak to the seriousness of South Africa developing its own ability so that people across the world will one day be asking for the South African-built Starlink. And I think with the global reconfiguration and tensions and competition, we should start this process of self-determination immediately, so that when we are hit with tariffs or unfavorable trade conditions, we remain confident and self-determined.
Right. All right, Kim, in the interest of time, thank you very much for your time. I hope you'll be coming through to our studios quite soon so that we can have a lengthy discussion on this matter and other matters.
Absolutely. I do appreciate the interview.
Yeah, those who have thank you. Those who have ears have heard. Thank you very much for coming through. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right, it's a wrap. Thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Please do subscribe to the EFF podcast on YouTube. Until we meet again, good day.
Fighters, South Africans, if you want to change your life, if you want to end the suffering, it starts with one thing: registering to vote. Here's how you do it. Go to www.elections.org.za on your phone or computer. Click Register Online. Enter your ID number and home address, where you live and where you'll vote. Confirm your voting station and boom, you're registered to vote. Don't have internet? No problem. Go to your local IEC office or voter registration station with your green ID book or smart card and register in person. Your vote is your weapon. Your registration is the first bullet. The EFF calls on every fighter, every worker, every young person, every elder to register to vote. It's time to take the power back. Let's register, let's vote, let's win economic freedom in our lifetime.